In Gauteng, the Premier David Makhura has released the Gauteng Province's State of Integrity and Anti-Corruption Report, aimed at communicating measures taken to stop corruption. We're joined now by the Gauteng Ethics Advisory Council Chair, Dr. Terence Nombembe, former Auditor General. Dr. Nombembe, good evening to you, and thank you very much indeed for your time tonight. How would you describe the measures which have been introduced in Gauteng to stop corruption in the provincial government?
Thanks so much, Stephen, and good evening to your listeners and viewers as well. I would characterize the measures as largely being informed by the commitment of the leadership right at the level of the Premier as well as his Executive Council. Because without that commitment, any advice that is provided, any analysis that is embarked upon which the advice is given, will actually come to naught if no implementation is taking place. So that's why today's launch was quite a groundbreaking event, in that it was a parallel launch of the report of the Advisory Council, as well as a report of the Premier in response to their own assessment of the state of ethics. Obviously, nothing of this report is describing anything that is in glory, but a commitment to actually move in that direction.
We saw during the pandemic corruption in the Gauteng Health Department around PPE procurement. We saw what happened in schools with the fogging scandal. It implicates the MEC for Education, Panyaza Lesufi. We see even now people make claims that corruption is stopping the reopening of the Charlotte Maxeke Hospital, for example. Do you believe that the appropriate measures are now in place to stop corruption in Gauteng, to stop incidents like the PPE procurement corruption from happening again?
Not by any means, Stephen. This is why one of our important recommendation, which we call future focus, is aimed at looking at how do we establish a framework that will enable the executive councils or the executive authorities to be able to be accountable for matters that they are in charge of as part of the executive authority. We are of the firm belief as the Advisory Council that in as much as the legislative framework is clear on the responsibility of the accounting officers, it is very vague and foggy insofar as the responsibilities and accountability for executive authorities. And I think this is where most of these issues, when they happen, they, in most instances, take the executive authorities by surprise, and they've got to go back and find out. And we need to avoid such incidents. So that's one of the issues. But the second one is the issue of making sure that the whole integrity management program of Gauteng is institutionalized right up to the level of executive authorities and fully supported by them. We think that those two recommendations would be groundbreaking the day we actually get them to be institutionalized and managed like clockwork.
Dr. Terence Nombembe, thank you, Chair of the Gauteng Ethics and Advisory Council. I do appreciate the time.